Welcome to the Recruiter Startup Podcast. We have the one and only Mark Gaisford today. How are
Don't
you?
say it like that. Hello, how are you?
Awful. Pretty awful.
Are you?
Yeah, awful. I'm over this. So I was
Me
doing
too.
okay. And then I got a bit run down. So I've kind of been coughing and stuff. Not too sure what it is, but we're 3 weeks into it, so I think I'm kind of on the other side. But that meant that I stopped exercising a little bit, and then I started drinking a bit more.
We've all done that.
And I thought, who can I call as a bastion of male mental health champion? The man that's solving middle-aged problems everywhere.
Oh my God, Jesus. The nut job with ADHD, that's probably the better way to describe it.
Yeah.
My brain, honestly, I'll tell you what though, in all seriousness on that, my brain, I love it. I mean, I've had a bit of a cabin fever myself as well with this whole thing because it's just going on too long. But my ADHD brain absolutely loves this because we're in the middle of a crisis and it just literally won't switch off. It runs at like 3,000 miles an hour, trying to find solutions and opportunities and that I absolutely get off on that kind of stuff. When it gets into the, oh, we've got an idea and we need to set up processes and systems. Oh, ugh, boring,
No.
absolutely boring. But the
Yeah.
idea itself, my brain runs a million miles an hour on that stuff.
So before we recorded, we're kind of talking about a bit of that. Um, we were pivoting before this, and one of the things I realized was, like I was a really good senior consultant. Not really good at doing what I was told, but like
Me too.
I could join the dots pretty good and make money. And then I kind of figured out I could be creative and do that as well. Um, but what I never really got was that journey of my career where I was scaling teams and all
Yeah.
the rest. So, luckily because I had the podcast, I was able to know where to look for that gap in my skill set. So
Mm.
we engaged a guy called Andy Hallett, and he's been ripping through, let's say, everything, and putting all the systems and processes and procedures. And Charlotte's pretty good like that,
Yeah.
but never had the big business experience like you would get at doing that for S3 for 20 years like him.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's been for us that transition from a lifestyle business to what we need to do to build something that's bigger than us.
It's interesting though, isn't it? Because it can be advantageous not having that sort of level of experience because you kind of do things on gut reaction or what you think or feel is the right thing to do. And especially at the moment when we really haven't got a clue what the world's going to look
Yeah,
like, actually, that's probably a benefit because you apply the roles, the rules that you had in 1995,
yeah.
and the chances are that's not going to work now. So yeah.
So I'm with you on that, right? But there's a part I'm not. So I think structure and process and having, Andy calls it a culture of no surprises.
Yeah.
And when your head works like my head or yours, there's a lot of surprises because we're thinking of something else every day and people have to keep us in check. Um, so I'm trying, we're trying to work out all the mad shit that's going to go through my head now so we can put it all down and then know where we're going and work backwards from the end result.
Yep. Yep.
That's been fascinating. But at the same stage, um, I don't want a traditional business. So there's a couple of things that I think are going to change forever from this. One is remote working. I
Yep.
think that's going
Totally agree.
to always be here. I think, hey, listen, we've more access to people than we ever had. People like, let's just jump onto Zoom. Let's make this happen. It's so easy.
Exactly.
People are better with their time because of that.
That's
Um,
definitely going to stay, no doubt.
yeah. Um, and the marketing piece, and
Mm.
like we were quite early on the journey of going out there and sharing our clients' brand and piggybacking off that, in fairness, and building our business from that.
Yeah.
And that's something I believe that will be there to stay. So sharing that value with clients,
Yeah.
helping them with their brand, and in return, you'll have growth. You're going through some changes at the moment. Walk us through it.
Um, I think I mean we were kind of walking this direction anyway before COVID-19, and because we'd started to put on LinkedIn boot camps and sort of training sessions on really how to sort of help people fire up LinkedIn for themselves and their businesses and all the rest of it. So kind of we're describing it as a pivot during pandemic. I think all we've really done is actually go from a slow snail's pace walking in this direction to the 100-meter sprint to get it to where it is now. I mean, I think for me, it comes. I mean, I've learned. It's weird. I've got a great idea for a video actually that I've kind of found myself at the age of 50 plus. And some people find themselves in their 20s. They know what they're going to do and all that kind of stuff. I really feel now that I'm doing something, especially with Red Sprout Media, that I'm so utterly passionate about, and I'm actually loving every minute. So, I mean, for me, because I've worked in the recruitment industry for nearly 30 years, and so I kind of know. I kind of know the reactions that a lot of recruiters or recruiter directors, recruiter owners are going to take to this current situation, and it is a little bit of, and I totally get why, because the last time they sat on a desk was probably in late 80s or 90s or whatever, and the playbook then was very different. The internet wasn't here. It was Rolodex and Yellow Pages and a telephone. Yellow Pages, for those millennials that are watching, is a directory of businesses in your local area because they don't even produce the Yellow Pages anymore. But we made a ton of money back then doing that. But it always in our industry seems to be the sort of go-to playbook when things get tough, and I can so see that happening again. As we start to come out of this and people come out of furlough, you can just hear the recruitment owners and directors screaming, 100 calls, 100 calls, get on the phones, get on the phones. And it's that same direction that everyone goes in. And yet, actually, the world has completely changed in that time. And I'm not for a minute saying that the phones are not an incredibly useful tool. Of course they are. But actually, who wants to be making 100 cold calls a day when actually you can build brand, you can allow people to get to know you, you can be putting out content that means that people can relate to it, it's engaging, it's educational, it's inspirational. And so when you do pick up that phone, you're known. They know of you, they've heard of you, and actually there's a massive differentiator. And equally, beyond that as well, you actually then find that people phone you when they've got a need because they know of you and they've seen your content and the stuff that you're doing. And so I'm so passionate about this because we've done it ourselves as well for the last few years, a
Yeah.
very, very, very sort of inbound focused strategy. That I'm a bit of a sort of reactionary and a revolutionary, and I kind of want to help other recruiters take that journey as well and see that there are benefits. I think there's a difficulty as well though, because recruiters are naturally going to go, it's going to be very knee-jerk, because what we do, especially in times of desperation, is we become incredibly reactive and transactional. So we want to get the next job and we want to get the interview sorted out because there's the placement. And actually, adopting an inbound strategy and getting incoming inquiries coming through is longer term thinking. I mean, for us, it was incredibly long term thinking because we didn't know what we were doing and we were testing all along the way. But it is months now I mean, we can definitely help recruiters in months rather than years, which is what it took us to kind of get there. And so, it was, to be honest, it was a no-brainer for us to go down this route and to offer this as a service now.
Let me pick some of that apart. So, as I mentioned when we were starting, the last time I interviewed you, I left the room and I said he'll have a marketing business in 6 months' time, 100% sure, because you talked about marketing the whole time.
Yep.
And you're unbelievably passionate about video editing and
Yep.
about getting into the minutiae of it. And
that's my ADHD coming out.
Yeah, but well, you say that, but it's also the passion, right?
Yeah.
The bit that was interesting, what you just said, was on the way up and out of this, you think that owners are going to revert to type and they're going to turn up the heat. That's going to be interesting because that's when us as a business will benefit from that, because that's when their top performers start coming to the market going, do you know what, the environment's changed.
Yep.
It's not for me. The second bit that you said there that's interesting, in terms of building an inbound strategy, it takes a period of time, right?
Hmm.
And to get it really, like, really well done, and especially if you want to get it done so it's working in the background, so you're free
Yep.
to do lots of other stuff. And the tricky piece with that is people don't last in recruitment long enough. So companies have to make a real choice on how long they can afford to hire somebody for before they get profitable
Yep.
within this. Whereas the traditional model was you're in, you're out in 3 months if you're not profitable.
I think just picking up on that, and it's an incredibly valid point. And so I think like we did, the core content creator, content producer, the face of the brand was me, and I owned it. And I think that's where a lot of recruitment directors have got to actually look at what their role is in this as well, because again, you're absolutely right. You bring people on, and you want them to be profitable very quickly. So we were getting into that cycle where we were bringing consultants in without the need to sell, because the pipeline of incoming inquiries was driven by me, the owner of the business. And so they came in and they funneled out to those consultants. So what happens is those consultants get to profitable really, really quickly,
Yeah.
and actually anchoring that's that inbound strategy on the owner, or certainly the directors of the business. There's so much less risk that those people are going to disappear, and you can still have churn, as we do in the recruitment industry, and consultants that may not be performing to the level that we need them to perform, but actually it's still anchored in the main people in that business. So you're funneling those opportunities, those jobs, those vacancies through to the consultant team that you have. And I totally believe that actually consultants should also be responsible for building their own online reputation as
Mm.
well. But I think it's really got to be the main people in the business, and then you've got a model that actually is risk free, in the sense that you're controlling it. It's all
Yeah.
hanging on you, and so you funnel it out to the guys from there.
There's a couple of people who've done it well in amongst our clients. Toby Babb's done it well in the UK, and he's also done it well from the tier of his co-founders,
Yeah.
um, and they've invested heavily in that. Um, what you're describing, though, he's an anomaly on that, but what you're describing probably will work best for founder-led boutique style businesses
Mhm.
where they're not going anywhere. They're probably not going to exit, um, and and our other client, Joe Mullings, would be
Yep.
probably the person who's done that from from a perspective where he's involved in everything that comes in the door,
Yep.
and everything's built around that centerpiece of a brand, and the people under it. He has two others that have decent enough brands as well, and it filters down and it feeds down. Um,
I still think it can be a big company. I mean, look at, I mean, to name the most famous people: Steve Jobs, Richard Branson, Alan Sugar.
yeah,
Big brand, big personalities,
sure, but
and
name me the CEO at four different London listed recruitment firms.
yeah,
Go,
exactly,
but you can't.
exactly,
I mean,
exactly.
they don't do it right, because the machine is there, the process is there on the machine,
Yeah.
and the interesting piece will be is it'll only ever change if it stops working. Do you think it's going to stop working?
I certainly see. I think I certainly think we're going to see less recruiters as a result of this. We're going to find that it's a hell of a lot tougher to grow business, to build, to win new clients,
Yeah,
because depending on how we come out of this, and I think that is the big unknown right now. There is a difference between normal recession and what we're going to come out of. I mean,
mm,
we know it's going to be a protracted release from lockdown. That in itself, I think, will probably make clients a little bit risk averse. So you're going to hire at the point at which we could potentially go into a second lockdown. What's the impact on your cash flow and all that sort of stuff? So these things will be ringing around in people's heads. But there's a bigger difference here, and the bigger difference is that actually government are showering us with money. So, small business rates relief grants, furlough scheme, the new bounce back loan, and so trying to trade in a recession when your bank is dry, really sort of, hones the thinking, because we've got to, this is all we can afford. We're in survival mode. Whereas actually, if people have done their sort of due diligence during this part and really killed as much of the cost as they possibly can in their business, they could be coming out of this with a bank account that's actually not that bad. And
Yeah.
so, what's the what's the thinking behind that? What's that money going to be used for? The
Mm.
bounce back loan is a classic. We're going to get that for a 12-month period without any capital repayment, a low interest rate at the end of it, and 6 years to pay it off, and you get 50 grand in your bank if you're a business that's got a
Unbelievable.
turnover of under £200,000.
Yeah.
That's a massive cash injection for a
Yeah.
business.
We just went for it there.
It's a
And
no-brainer not to, isn't
yeah.
it? You've got to do it. And so
Oh,
you've got cash in your bank. So
it's only going to
how's your
cost you
thinking about going to spend that money?
it's only going to cost you 3 grand over the next 5 or 10 years or something. So that's like, for me, that's a no-brainer.
Even if you don't think you need it, you should still take it, in my view, because let it sit in your bank account. When it gets to then starting to pay back an interest, well, give it back, because there are no early repayment penalties either. So just give it back, but it's sitting in your bank account, and then your thinking starts to change when you're in business, because you're thinking, okay, well, what can I use that money to generate business for me? How can I turn that into more cash? So you're in actually entrepreneurial territory, because there's money on the table, you can play with it. So that's why I think this could be a little bit of a different scenario coming out of this
I
situation, because
absolutely
cash
agree with you.
wins.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Um, and we're looking to pivot as well. We're working on announcing a couple of senior hires to get into other areas. Um, and we were going to do it without this, but now that that's come in,
Yeah. And there
it's
you go. So you just proved the point. It gives you options to start thinking of ideas, how to grow, how to turn it into money. And there'll be so many businesses in the same territory. That's actually really exciting, and actually could give us a real glimmer of hope coming out of this, that we can actually bounce back.
yeah,
And
because
I've been through that cycle of thinking all the way through this, thinking, oh, the guys that are saying we're going to go into a V-shaped, and any letter-shaped recession that you want to think of, I thought the V-shaped guys were off their heads, because actually it's not going to be a quick bounce back. Money in the bank, we could see some growth start coming through quite quickly. So maybe we would go into a V-shaped bounce back, we start to really generate some growth and some interesting businesses. So who knows?
so what's the offering to recruiters? So I'm Mr. Recruiter. Oh,
Content
hey,
is king.
that's
Content is king. I put
that's
out a
that
video
Bill
this
had
morning, actually.
on LinkedIn. Is he going to make me famous?
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm not very good at social. Is he going to do all the work for me? Do I have to do it? What does it
yeah,
be?
and of course
Ring,
for a certain
ring,
amount of
ring,
money,
ring,
for a,
ring. Hello.
for a certain amount of money, we will do absolutely everything for you. Of course, we will.
Yeah.
And but the premise of this whole thing is that content is king.
Mhm.
And we all get wrapped up, and I do the same thing. We get wrapped up in the software and the tech and the journey that we want clients to go on, and we want to get them into the marketing funnel, all this kind of stuff, and we plan it within an inch of its life. But we're actually not spending huge amounts of attention on the content at the start that gets people into that funnel. And
By
so
content, you mean story.
yeah, content is king. And so our first offering is essentially work, because I've spoken to so many recruiters over the last 2-3 weeks now, and 99.9 of them have said exactly the same thing. Yeah, this is all great, but what the hell do I talk about? And then I'm challenging them to say, and you also need to be consistent. And they say, well, that's even worse. I don't know what to talk about for one piece of content, never mind be consistent with it. So that overarching content strategy, building up actually the pillars, the content ideas, the stories from which you can make content, that's our number one offering. Because it's the one bit that we see it all the time. We see it all the time. And because largely we've been told by so many of the social gurus, you need to do social, you need to do LinkedIn, you need to do video. So we all go, oh hi, I need to do video, so I'm just going to tell you what I'm doing today. And no one gives a monkeys, because it's the most boring content. Because what we haven't done is actually say, okay, where's the story in this? What's the why am I producing this piece of content? Is it interesting to my target audience, to my audience? Who are my audience? What are they made up of? What's their interest? Doing that whole overarching piece, it's got to be the starting point, and everything else then hangs off it. So that's our level one offering is, let's get this content journey really sorted out, and then you can build in, client journeys and the software and all that kind of stuff after. But if you've got the content nailed down, then you're on the right path, basically.
Have you picked your ideal client?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, we did the same thing when we were in the recruitment business and we're running Red Sprout. Was that actually we wanted to go small, medium-sized enterprise, because actually all your eggs are not in one basket. You've got a relationship with the person that actually runs and owns the business, so that's great for relationship building and all of the future. So yeah, those recruiters that are at that level, that are I mean, we're quite happy. And in fact, a lot of the conversations and some of the clients that we've already converted are solopreneurs. They're independent recruiters who really want to increase their lead generation model, essentially. So anything from there up to, well, do you know what? I mean, if a deco calls, I'm not going to say no.
Yeah, figuring it out. It'll be interesting to see where you go with it. I think you're right though. The biggest bit that they all get wrong is the creativity piece and knowing how to tell their story.
Yeah.
How do you
We're
coach?
we're very good at facts, as well, and I think it does take a certain brain. I'm lucky because my brain's very creative, but we're very good at presenting facts. But actually, when you present facts, it's utterly. I mean, everyone's been there, haven't they, at the talk, when someone's got a slide up there with a bloody graph on it, and they're just talking you through numbers, and you're literally yawning your head off. But there's a story behind those numbers, so actually finding that story and turning it into something that actually means something to people, that's where content just comes to life.
Yeah,
But it takes, I mean, I've said this to people all the way along, 90% of the work that goes into one of our videos is nothing to do with picking up the camera and editing the video. It's actually coming up with the idea and creating the story out of it. That's where the vast majority of the effort and the work goes into. And if you've got that right, then actually almost, it doesn't matter the quality of the video and the editing necessary, because the story is just so amazing. And so that's the bit that we've really just got to get right with people.
and how does it work? Is it like a once off? Is it
Can be, yeah, because we'll work with people in terms of getting that overarching sort of strategy in place, and then say, because we're very conscious at the moment that money is tight, no doubt about it. So we will do one off. We'll help people come up with that content strategy piece,
yeah,
work out content pillars, start hanging some stories off those pillars, and give people a really good playbook in terms of content for month one. And then, do you know what? Yeah, guys, go knock yourself out and see what you can do with that, because that's the juice, that's the real secret sauce. And then if some of those people then want to turn into retained clients, where we're really starting to get into the minutiae of actually creating videos that really rock, and actually helping people come up with creating those stories, the stories around the pillars that we've created. First of all, we're quite happy to work with people on an ongoing basis on that, but on that moving forwards. And then the other piece for me after that, which I just don't know if people have got the cash and the money yet to be able to do this, is that investment in marketing automation, where you actually got that sort of production line, you're producing great content, people are going into the funnel, and everything's kind of start to sing, and clients kind of come out at the bottom of it. Yeah, but there is a financial commitment in terms of doing that. To work with people like HubSpot, it
yeah,
costs money.
yeah.
But without all of that stuff, there are still some great hacks that we've created actually over this lockdown period, where you can kind of hack that a little bit for very little money, and you've still got that funnel effect. And there's no doubt about it that businesses like HubSpot are the premium thing. But who's got $1,000 a month at the moment to spend on the whole range of services that HubSpot offer?
What's going on with LinkedIn at the moment? Have they changed their algorithms?
Yes.
Can you
Yes.
walk us through that?
Yeah, so I didn't actually discover this. Shay Rowbottom discovered this. She put out a post about it. There has been an algorithm change. So reach is a lot less, and what LinkedIn are now starting to say is that where they will send your content is much more targeted to the people that would be interested in consuming that piece of content. So whereas we had 1 million views on a video last year, I think the chances of that now are reducing dramatically. We've seen views massively down, but actually not necessarily engagement down. because it does seem to be more targeted, and so the people that see it are getting involved with it. But I still think, we're going to see more and more of this. We saw it with Facebook as well, where you could actually grow an organic following quite easily. You can't do that now without putting money on the table. The same impact is going to happen on LinkedIn, and it's starting to slowly go down that way. I think it's still very early days, and there is, without a shadow of a doubt, still opportunity for people to build online reputations on LinkedIn for zero spend, which is what we did really over the last couple of years. There absolutely that opportunity exists, because again, look at YouTube. YouTube is riddled with incredibly brilliant content creators, and there aren't that many when you start looking around LinkedIn. So the opportunity still exists there, and I'm afraid, I'm sorry to sound like a broken record, but it still comes down to that one thing: produce amazing content, and people are going to resonate with that. So it still hangs on that whole piece around content.
Yeah, there's a lot of like, post at this time, make sure you do X, Y, and Z. If you don't tell a good story and you don't make it something that people are going to be like,
Yep.
oh, that's funny, or that's
Exactly.
triggered me in a
It's got
certain
to be
way.
relatable. Absolutely, you've got to create content that's engaging. So, and there's definitely a psychology behind and a method for producing video content on LinkedIn, without a doubt. And we're all struggling a little bit with
Have
that
you got
at
a
the moment.
method, or does it come intuitively?
I think it's for us. It's come through trial and error over a long time. There is a method. Very much. I mean, I'll tell you this for a start. This is not my idea. This is Casey Neistat's idea, one of the best YouTubers out there, with something like 11 million followers. He builds all of his story content in 3 acts. And act one, and you start watching some of his video content on YouTube, and you can see how he's built that story. But it's essentially 3 acts: set up, conflict, resolution. And so my most famous video was built exactly on this model. The video last saying I've got no friends was built on set up, conflict, resolution. Set up, I've got no friends. Conflict, well, how do you find friends? Especially, how do you find friends when you're in your 50s? Because it's difficult. We don't go to school, so where are all these friends? Resolution, this is what I did. I went to find those friends. I met them at a meetup group in a pub, and it wasn't that great. Set up, conflict, resolution. So story building,
Now
just
you have
using
sad
those
bastards
3 acts,
everywhere.
yeah,
You've sad
is a
bastards
great
everywhere reaching out.
but it's funny, isn't it? Because when people start talking about producing content that is sort of vulnerable or brave, stuff like that, what they don't want is this whole sort of sympathy brigade, sort of saying, oh poor you, because who wants content like that? So, and the way to get around that is to actually give them the resolution. This is how I solve this. So this is a problem. I know everyone else has got this problem too. This is how difficult it is, and I'm not sure where to go, but this is what I did. So you're giving people the answers. So you don't attract that, oh my God, poor you. Instead, you attract that, oh my God, that's amazing. I hadn't thought about doing that. I'm going to do that for myself. Completely different reaction. So the resolution phase is really important.
The journey of the hero, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I guess when you look at all Hollywood films, it's probably built on the same kind of strategy, It's always a good story at the end.
All right, Mark, that's us. Tell us, what's the best way to get in contact with the most viral man in the world?
Email me, because my LinkedIn's crazy. So Mark
My
at Redsprout.
experience is better to email Olivia.
Yeah, damn right. You've learned that as well. Yeah. The best way to contact me is Olivia at redsprout.co.uk.
Thanks very much, Mark.
No worries, mate. Good to see you.